Hello and welcome to Ginger Prime. My name is Brian, and today we're diving into the June Alpha Update, Part 1 for New World. And the fact that they label this Part 1 has me both excited and generally interested in it. If you guys want more coverage of New World, you can always check the top link in the description for my playlist for New World. And yeah, I'm really excited about this game. I know it's had a lot of controversy. I'm sure there's going to be probably something controversial about these update notes. My hope is that as a developer myself, that maybe apply a little bit of context to what I'm seeing and what I anticipate for New World rolling forward. So let's go ahead and dive right into it. Greetings, adventurers. Today's alpha release is focusing on polishing up the gameplay experience and systems, including a heaping pile of bug fixes that span across all aspects of the game, all in preparation for our closed beta in July and their August 31st launch date. So generally they fixed over 1,000 bugs, 1,209 to be specific. They increased the company member limit from 50 to 100. I'm generally curious to see how well this plays. This isn't necessarily something that speaks to me, even as a content creator. However, I guess that could have a lot of value. Ultimately, I don't know if that's a good change or a bad change. We won't know until we know, right? They also updated new player quests related to choosing a faction, gathering, and refining for the Constable, and they also added a new series of lore notes in each starting zone with additional revelations about that zone's Constable. Now, progression updates, and this is where I think we're going to start to touch on a little bit of, I don't know, chances of salt are high, but just hear it out. Again, I'm going to just say it. We don't know until we know. All right. In May, we rebalanced progression and leveling to introduce a number of new ways to players to advance, such as earning trade skill levels or territory standing levels and discovering points of interest, aka POIs, or lore pages. Now, that's one of the things I really enjoyed about the preview, finding lore pages, getting more into the world of New World. And then essentially, it sounds like they're also adding in some stuff to this. So they rebalanced resulted in players actually leveling faster than the content, so that we made a few changes to XP gain and leveling. So to catch you guys up to speed, if you haven't seen essentially the drama, it's players are concerned about pay to win, players are concerned about over monetization, changes to the overall XP rate for rested experience, which if you actually go look at the notes, it's actually a buff that rested experience ends up getting. But if you look at just one line ended up getting overall nerfed, and that's what a lot of players gravitated to. I'm not saying they're wrong for gravitating towards it, because Amazon hasn't built up a relationship of trust with gamers yet. We don't know until we know, and that could be both positive or negative. But at the end of the day, I've enjoyed what I've experienced. I'm going to bet that there's going to be some nerfs here in this section, so just bear with me and we'll kind of get through it together. All right, they increased the overall amount of XP from discovering lore pages, and they love this new activity and how it actually rewards exploration, which I do agree with that. I love how that aspect happens, and getting text messages. So they want to ensure that it's more impactful on your progression. So base XP has increased from 25 to 40, and XP has increased by 10, up from 5 for every 10 notes discovered. They doubled the XP rewarded for discovering points of interest, like lore notes discovery. This is a great new source of experience, and we want to pump up the amount that it contributes. They increased the required amount of experience to level after level 7 by 40%, so that's a significant jump up. And so they say players in the alpha are leveling faster than they expected and faster than the content. And as a result, they are missing some cool quests and point of interest. The goal of this change is to better align with progression with the content of the game. Where players will get concerned is that if they're saying, if they come back later and, offer boosts, which anyway, if you guys are interested in that coverage, you can always check the links in the description of this video. Now, they reduced the XP gain from corrupted breaches by 10 to 20%, based on the level of that breach. And they also decreased the breach's spawn speed from 15 minutes to 30 minutes for minor breaches, and from 30 minutes to 60 minutes for major breaches. We love the corrupted breaches and how they bring players together, but they want the feeling to be about more cleansing the area of corruption and then waiting around for it to rebuild, not to be a constant grind. So it seems like the time in this case is changed so that you're not necessarily I just farmed breaches the entire way to the cap. However, I think that one of the things that makes repeatable content enjoyable, because they say they want it about cleansing the land, there's got to be some reward. like a game can be fun and you can have fun, but at some point, like if you're just doing the same thing over and over again, there's got to be a little bit of variety, or the rewards have to match, in my opinion. Anyway, reduce the XP from faction missions to compensate for the change in the mission structure. In this update, they've changed the faction missions back to a single mission structure since they are considerably faster now, and they've adjusted the rewards accordingly. They reduced the XP from PvP missions by about 20%. The proximity of the mission locations and speed at which players could complete missions led to a quicker rate of XP gain than intended. Arenas will now require one party member to have a tuning orb for entry. They increase the rewards for completing an arena. And like expedition orbs, tuning orbs will be given during the initial quest and can be crafted from materials found around Eternum. They also added the crafting missions, then removed from faction missions to town projects. Thematically, this felt like a better place for this type of activity. Along, I'm dyslexic, so forgive me, with the move of the town projects, cooking and armor and armorant crafting missions have been overhauled and changed to be more accessible. The requirements here have been made easier for cooking missions with a maximum of 4 ingredients and any mission of and less than each ingredient type. They tuned armor and armament missions to require less of each material, and rather than requiring materials from tier 2 to tier 5, these missions now require materials from tier 1 to tier 4. They raised the cap on the number of active buy and sell contracts to 100 per character. I like that. We also reordered the tuning of this list of territory standing bonuses offered at each level. The new order of bonuses is more relevant to the early game, rolling out at the earlier territories and standing levels, such as town storage, territory standing bonus, and XP bonuses. Generally, but not always, standing bonuses should offer a choice between similar things. For instance, one set of bonuses will pick between taxes and fees, while another set will pick between advancement bonuses such as territory standing bonuses or faction token bonuses. They increase the amount of furnishing points granted by the furnishing standing bonus from 1 to 5. And this required a reduction in the overall number of times this bonus is offered. So we wanted to stay close to our previous hard cap at max standing, but we also want to grant more than 1 point per time. Loot and gear. Gray rarity no longer binds on equip. This is really good. I don't really like bind on pickup at all. Like in terms of game design, I think anything should be tradable, so you can go farm that. It could become just a market in a way, but it's good to see that bind on equip is no longer going to apply to gray gear. This will eliminate the confirmation pop-up when equipping gray rarity gear, which should reduce pop-ups and complexity during the first few levels for new players. Obviously, as you get higher rarity, that seems that we're going to see that bind on equip, thus creating a flowing demand for new gear from players. Gear rewards. We are continuing to add more gear to the game and improve the visual appearance of the gear in the game. They added 50 new armor sets that can be obtained through a variety of in-game activities. They updated the visual stats and perks for many of the unique weapons and armor sets so that they can actually be found as rewards for the following locations: Invasions, Wars, Corrupted Breaches, Outpost Rush, Lazarus Well, Guardian of Genesis, The Depths, Shattered Obelisk, Arenas, and many endgame elite points of interest. And you can see here the different sets of gear as an example. Obviously very visually compelling. We put this into the thumbnail for this video, so it gives a lot of visual variety to the character, which I think is one of the aspects of, especially modern MMOs. Now, that being said, hopefully we continue to see a reliance on the player-driven economy, the in-game economy, as a way of getting and making this gear better, because at some point, if everything's just activity-based, I think you end up running into kind of this, I don't know, a drought, a desert of like, okay, well, why? I have everything. Why do I continue to do stuff? It's like, oh, well, there could always be, better things and things to do. Anyway, that's a discussion probably for a more of an opinionated video. The possible perks from each source has been narrowed to give each piece of armor on the benefit that they provide. This is intended to reduce the chance of getting a less than ideal combination of perks, depending on what kind of character build you're looking to make. They added 27 trinket rewards for War, Breach, Invasion, and Outpost Rush. They updated the color scheme on a slew of weapons throughout the game. They updated all uniquely colored weapons dropped by lost enemies. They updated the base set color of spears, rapiers, and great axes dropped by Angry Earth enemies to correctly match the other Angry Earth weapons. They updated the base set color of spears and rapiers dropped by ancient enemies to better match their other ancient weapons. They also updated the scheme Ice Gauntlet dropped on all family of enemies to match the color schemes seen on each of the unique weapon sets. They added 2 unique trade skill apparel sets that can be discovered throughout Eternum. These apparel sets will not provide much benefit in combat, but each set is stacked with perks, and one set is to improve crafting, and the other is to improve gathering abilities. They added named weapon drops to the global list of drops that can occur anywhere in the game. These weapons have a low chance to drop, but should add excitement to global drops. I definitely agree. Whenever, even if it's a low chance, just seeing cool stuff happen, I like. The weapons in this list are all bind on equip. Yay! Perfect. So they can be traded between players until they are equipped for the first time. Great. Perfect. More reason to farm, more excitement. If you don't want it, put it up for sale. Go for it. Crafting. Jewel crafting trinkets are now created with embedded gems that cannot be changed. Jewel crafting, they added crafting recipes for carnelian and amber trinkets. So, regarding the user experience, the UI as well. So, for the main menu, the initial character creation flow has received an update. In addition to streamlining the flow and adding key functionality, we wanted to draw players into the world of Eternum immediately after booting up the game. Our main menu now displays new dynamic tile grid, which will surface content updates or important information about the living world of Eternum. In future versions, we hope to be able to deliver streaming video via these titles, but for now, they will open a web browser for more information. I also haven't really seen too much information about what their plans are in tying with Twitch, which is a part of kind of what they were talking about originally. And you can already see here, connect with Twitch account. Anyway. On the new character select screen, you will see available character slots and receive important server messages before advancing into the game. The world list has been replaced with your character slots, in which that you have 2 per region, and now only need to choose a world when initially creating your character. As a new player, you're going to get a streamlined character creation flow with a choose a world step that shows a recommended world choice based off the current queue times of any of the Steam friends that are online and playing on that server. You can optionally expand the world list and choose any world as any you can now. Jeez, I suck. I'm so sorry. So combat UI has been adjusted to provide more information in moment to moment gameplay. It should now be easier to tell what types of attacks are being used, now effective attacks are, and what status effects are being applied. They added icons and to floating damage numbers showing the damage type of all attacks. They added indicator and colors to show off the attacks as improved or reduced effectiveness against its target due to its attack type. The status effects now generate a floating text and an icon to clearly indicate the status effect's name when applied to other players or mobs, and status effect icons are more clear to prominently place above the enemy's name rather than on the right side. So you can kind of see that here, bleed damage being applied, and different icons, in this case physical, looks like fire, damage, etc. So honestly, I think that's a really good touch, nice quality of life. The compass has had some polish too, including when a point of interest, the compass will display the point of interest name permanently until you exit the point of interest boundary. Both entrance and exit to a point of interest now have an SFX sound effects in this case, to aid you in recognizing when you can set camp. Distances are now only shown for the compass icon closest to the center of the compass where the camera is aiming to improve legibility distance significant by removing overlapping text, and allows us to show distances of more icon types. Character creation appearance options, a plethora, I love that word, of new character appearances options are now available. When creating your character, new faces, hairstyles, facial hairstyles, eye colors, skin features, scars, and tattoos. Here are just a few examples. Oh yeah, look at that stash. All right, more beards. Yep, that feels appropriate. Oh yes, got the chops. Fascinating. The eyes, look at those eyes. It's fascinating. And there we go, back to the start. There we go, rock and roll. All right, so other UX polish. Tooltips no longer cover up the item you're pointing at. Instead, they clamp to the side of the focused item. In addition, the actions panel has been scaled down and condensed so that tooltips take over less room than the inventory screen. Streamlining of the die screen and color picker include the ability to preview colors on the character model by hovering and not clicking on them. Added unique icons for group members instead of identical diamonds with different colors for colorblind accessibility. Unique icons, great. When accessing the storage shed, you no longer receive the storage shed informational notification in the upper right-hand corner, except for the very first time. Players who have crouched or prone no longer generate a typing bubble when communicating in global chat, allowing players to remain stealthy when engaging in open world PvP. So some combat changes. Default control scheme update. We've updated the default control scheme to resolve some combat PvP and quality of life issues. Dodge is now bound to shift by default. Jump is bound to space by default. Remove sprint as an input and will now occur automatically. Sprinting will now occur automatically when and will not require you to press or hold down shift to engage. We're trying this quality of life change to remove the need for holding down an input for a large amount of gameplay experience and tiring out your pinky finger. Now, on the controller, I use it as a click, so it was kind of on or off, so it was very handy. So I think that's going to change on controller as well. Combat actions now cause a brief time delay before sprinting and turns off automatically, and we've added these delays to help reduce the runaway game that has occurred in PvP and to help melee characters close in against ranged opponents by not allowing an opponent to disengage as easily. This will also slightly reduce the ability of players to run in circles while kiting enemies in expeditions. The delays are as follows. You cannot sprint for 1.5 seconds after beginning of an outgoing attack. You cannot sprint for 2 seconds after you are hit by an incoming melee attack. So outgoing attack, it seems like anything, but if you get hit by a melee attack, you got a 2-second delay before you can sprint again. We saw this accidentally performing special navigation such as hurdling and ledge grabs was occurring during combat. To perform special navigation, now you'll need to press the jump input, which is by default set to space. You will no longer automatically perform special navigation while navigating unless you enter auto run mode. Movement navigation. We also made updates to the player navigation that pair with the default control scheme update. These updates have been made to reduce the sprint jump from being used in combat to gain an advantage, which it was never intended. We also needed to allow stamina regeneration during navigation since sprint is now automatic. They remove the roll on sprint jump unless a player is landing from an elevated height. Sprint jump no longer exceeds sprint speed. Stamina will regenerate while navigating and remove the stamina cost from jump. Block break and blocking stamina. Block break has been updated to be more to a more disadvantaged state, as our current block break could be used as an advantage during boss fights and trivialize certain encounters. We've made updates to our blocking state and stamina regeneration rules to offer a more active version of tanking and to give options to the blocking player. After block break, you will not be able to dodge or block for 3 seconds. Stamina will now reset to full after 3 seconds instead of 1.5 seconds. Players cannot block at 0 stamina. Stamina will not regenerate while blocking. After a player releases a block, there is a 1 second delay of stamina before stamina starts to regenerate, and stamina will regenerate while attacking. Default stamina regeneration rate has been reduced from 33 stamina per second to 20 stamina per second. Death's Door. All damaging, debuffing, buffing status effects are removed when entering Death's Door. Timers, food buffs, and other tracking effects are not removed on Death's Door. So it looks like all the negative stuff. The question is that I'm guessing that's applied to the player and not the boss. Like the boss knocks you down to Death's Door and then they lose all their dots that you applied to them. I'm betting that's just primary player. You can now trigger abilities and attacks directly from the sheathed state, pressing the ability button, while sheath will now go straight into the attack. Basic attack and abilities can also be performed directly from a prone position. Now, for staves and gauntlets balance, they lowered the base damage of staves by 12% and increased the ability damage by 12%. They lowered the base damage of the ice gauntlet by 13% and increased the ability damage by 13%. They increased heavy attack damage for staves and ice gauntlet from 130 base weapon damage to 140 base weapon damage. Now, the fire staff, Fireball can now be blocked with the shield. That makes sense. Fireball has been updated to a 3 meter AoE attack at 125 weapon damage that causes scorched earth. This is something that I wanted to see in the preview. I was like, if it hits, just give, especially some of these attacks, like a general AoE thing, especially if you end up hitting a friend. But I think they've already changed that as well to where it kind of passes through. So if nothing else, it's good to see that Fireball is actually going to have some kind of general impact so that you can definitely get some hits in on the enemies. Now, Reheat Pyro Ultimate Reduce reheat Pyro Ultimate from 500% mana regeneration rate after not using an ability for 5 seconds to 400% after 6. The Incinerate, they removed the stagger, increased the knockback compensation for stagger removal. Update functionality so damage over time effects will not heal the player while the Cauterize wound modifier is active. They reduced healing to 20% of damage done. As an AoE attack, the healing was too much against multiple targets. Makes sense. Prophet of a Fire God, they reduced critical damage bonus from 35% to 20%. Now regarding the musket, the Trapper Ultimate redesigned compound Adrenaline is now to be lethal combo, grants a 40% base damage increase to musket attacks on targets that have any of the status effects applied to the Trapper tree active abilities. Tactical Reload, they extended the cooldown for Tactical Reload from 2 seconds to 3 seconds. The Ice Gauntlet, they replaced Stabbing Winds perk with Unending Thaw, makes the frost effects remain on enemies for 2 seconds after exiting Ice Storm. The Life Staff, the Mending Touch passive and Purity modifier for Splash of Light now only removes a single debuff from targets affected instead of all debuffs. The Warhammer, they adjusted homing for each of the heavy attacks so that it will direct the player slightly towards the target. The Great Axe, they adjusted the homing for the heavy attack and it will also direct the player slightly towards the target. And perks, the Cruel perk updated to only affect crowd control status effects, root, slows, and stuns instead of all debuffs. They increased the effectiveness by 2% from 4, 6, 8, 10% to 6 all the way through 12% respectively. Guys, that's our patch notes for the part 1. So we'll see what they do with part 2. I'm sure there's going to be more information rolling out soon. If you hopefully enjoyed this video, hopefully you got some good information out of it. Let me know what you're thinking, what you're feeling, especially as it relates to New World. But I'm going to wrap up. Thanks for being here. Hopefully you have a fantastic day. Hope to see you in my next video. But until then, take care.